Hi there, and thanks for joining me. So I thought today I'd just give you a quick update, let you know how I'm getting on with my projects. Now, in front of me, I've got some of the furniture here from Yorke House, and you can see that they actually are missing some of their sort of drawer handles. This one here is missing both handles, and this one here is just missing the one handle from here. Now, rather naively, I thought that doll's house drawer handles were all the same, but they're not, are they? Of course they're not. That would be like far too easy, wouldn't it? So you can see on this unit, the handles are sort of like a zigzaggy top to them, and they sort of taper down to a sort of smaller shape underneath. And on this one, it's got a much squarer top. You sort of got like a square bit and then a little dent, and then more of a flat area. And they don't taper down such a small sort of bottom to them. So I'll put them side by side, and hopefully it will be a little bit clearer. You can see quite clearly how they're not the same at all. I've actually got a couple of other pieces of furniture in the house, and they actually do use these handles, but they've still got all their handles, so they're absolutely fine. It's just these two I've got to worry about. Now, this one here is quite a nice piece of furniture, and you get this bookcase unit that sits on top of it like this, and that's actually makes a nice piece of furniture all in all. And in the top of the bookcase, I put these books. Now, unfortunately, the books were too tall to sort of stand upright, but I sort of laid them down. I think it works quite well, really. So that's going to be quite a nice piece of furniture when I'm finished with it. So I thought to repair it, I'd just buy some doll's house furniture handles online. So I went onto eBay, and this man sent me a pack of, I think it's 8 handles, and he's cut the card absolutely beautifully, hasn't he? So this is the card that it came on. It's been cut to complement the shape of the handles. Isn't that adorable? I do love that. I think that's lovely. But these handles are the same pattern or design as these ones. But as you can see, they're actually smaller than the handles on this unit. It's difficult to see where they're still in their bag. You can sort of see they're much smaller. So I'm just going to take them out of the bag so we can have a proper look at them. They're still sellotaped down, so quite tricky to get into them. I haven't actually got them out yet. So that's actually a spare handle there that belongs to this sort of drawer unit. I've got one of those for that drawer unit, but I don't have another one. So I can fit one of the handles on, but not the second one. And I go back to these ones that I ordered online. And yes, they are significantly smaller to the ones that are already on this furniture. So I guess I've got a choice now. I either take all of these off and replace them with this size door handles, but that still doesn't solve me the problem with what I'm going to do with this unit. It uses different handles, or carry on looking online. Now, this is a classic example of, I was sat on the sofa searching for doll's house furniture handles like you do, and it came with all the dimensions, so it was entirely my own fault. I didn't bother to check it, basically. So the man put all the dimensions on there, and I just went, oh yeah, that'll be all right. So I went and ordered it, and they are too small. So whose fault is that? 100% mine. But they're rather nice handles, but just not what I'm looking for. So I'll pop them back in the bag and go back to having a look around to see what I can get. And next time, actually get my ruler out and measure these handles so I know what handles I need to get. Unfortunately, when I was looking, I couldn't actually find any of this design at all. So I think what I might have to do is find ones of this design, but in this size, and then just put 2 different designs on the top shelf here. Now you might think, oh, put it on the bottom shelf. It won't show so much you put it on the bottom shelf. That would be a way better idea. However, it's been one of those weeks. I have since discovered museum wax. Didn't even know this stuff existed. This is superb stuff for sort of securing things down in the house. Up until now, I've been using white tack, the white version of blue tack. And the trouble is with that, you can actually see it, although I can use little tiny pieces of it, and it's quite effective. You can quite often see the white tack underneath things. Whereas this is ideal. It's just see-through wax. I didn't even know this existed. Superb. And it even comes with a little heart-shaped scraper to get the wax off. So I thought, because with this unit, all the drawers kept falling out of it. Whenever I moved it around, all the drawers fell out. I thought, I'll just use a little bit of museum wax to stick the drawers in. And now I've stuck them in, I can't move them. So I can't actually put that drawer on the bottom so that the handles won't show. I'd actually have to take the handles off there and move it around, and I think that's just going to be too much trauma for a little unit to cope with. Ideally, as well, I might even have it so the top unit didn't have any drawer handles. It just looks like it's part of the furniture, but I can't really do that because there's little lumps of glue on there which might show. So I'm back to the drawing board and actually having a proper hunt around and seeing what I can find. To be fair, I only looked on eBay and a couple of other doll's house sites. I didn't look extensively. I just thought, oh, it's sorted, but obviously not. Too small. And talking of too small, I thought, oh, I'll buy some lanterns to go outside the Yorke House door. I thought that would look rather nice. Now, I must admit, I wasn't really planning to wire them in. I just wanted cosmetic lanterns, and these actually do come with wires, so you could actually wire them into the circuit. And again, classic example of sat on the sofa, feeling lazy, couldn't bother to get up and measure anything. So again, the seller gave the dimensions of this item. Yeah, I didn't actually bother to check the size. And in a minute, I'll compare it to the door, and you'll see how really tiny they are compared to the door and how they're just not going to work at all. So I guess the moral of this week is get up and find a ruler, Alison, because you've got no idea of estimating size. The other things I've done recently is I've been to a few car boot sales. Now, I know quite a few people say they don't actually know what a car boot sale is, so I'll just quickly explain. Basically, people who have a clear out of their house or what have you, so say your kids had a clear out and got rid of a load of toys they no longer want, or you've cleared your attic out, you fill your car up with all the things you want to sell, you go to a designated site. They're usually in car parks or fields, but usually car parks this time of the year because we're in winter here in the UK. And you basically sell the goods out of the boot of your car, i.e. the trunk of your car. But you don't really sell them out the trunk of your car. You take them out of your car and put them either on a table or on the floor around your car. But I think the idea where they originally came from was that you would actually sell the goods out of the boot of your car, and that's the idea. Now, I go to them as a buyer. I don't actually go to sell anything. I'm quite lucky. My youngest son actually quite enjoys car boot sales. He likes to collect Nerf guns, and he also likes sort of war memorabilia, that sort of thing. So we tend to go to them and have a look around, and I'm always on the lookout for doll's house stuff. They tend to be held really early on either Saturday or Sunday morning. The sellers get there from about 5 a.m. on a weekend. I know, it's absolute madness. I get about 8, 9 o'clock. It's like, there's no way I'm getting up at 5 o'clock on a weekend. No way. But on the table here are a few things I found at the car boot recently. I found this adorable little metal spinning jenny, and it's sort of got a little wheel that moves around. Isn't that lovely? So it's actually quite a small scale, actually. I thought it would go perhaps in Yorke House, but it's too small a scale for that. So I think it's probably more like a 1/16 scale. If you put it up against the sewing machine, which is more like a 1/12 scale, it's actually really quite tiny, isn't it? So one of the other things I found at a car boot was this lovely little sewing machine table. That's a little bit tatty. The sort of varnish is chipping off a little bit, so it's going to need a little bit of TLC, but it's quite sweet. You can sort of move this little pedal here, and it moves this sort of pole here. Nothing up here moves, unfortunately, but it's still quite sweet, isn't it? Got these lovely sort of brass handles here. They're just mock handles. They don't actually do anything. The sewing machine doesn't move, unfortunately. Nothing up here does, but the little foot pedal down here moves, as does this here. So it's quite sweet, actually. But you can see it's a much bigger scale than the little spinning jenny that I bought. So, and I also found a little wheelbarrow that's got a wheel that moves, which is quite sweet. Now, it's coloured brass. I don't actually think it's brass. I think it's metal coloured in sort of yellowy brass colour, but it's quite sweet, isn't it? And at the front of Sunnyview Villa, which is the house that's got windows all the way around the outside, that's actually going to have a little garden out the front. So I thought that would look quite sweet in the garden for that house. So hopefully that should fit in there quite nicely. So I also bought these borders, and I thought they'd work quite well in some of the houses. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to use them yet, but they were really cheap. Too good an opportunity not to pick up. So I've got quite a few of this design. I'm not sure I'm meant to buy that many of that design. I think they're all stuck together, actually. And so we've got some flowers as well. And these are quite sweet. These have got little teddy bears on them. So you've got little teddy bears down here. And I thought they'd look really sweet in one of the nurseries. They won't actually work in Yorke House because Yorke House has already got wallpaper on the walls. But they will work quite nicely in some of the other houses that I'm doing. Beautiful little teddy bear designs, little reliefs. And a little sort of almost like alphabet here. And that's the teddy bear design there. They're both the same, those two. And another teddy bear design. I would have bought more of these, but they literally only had one sheet like that. Same with this one. I think this one's sweet, but again, they only had one sheet. So again, they're just people selling off their craft supplies they no longer want. This wasn't a trader or anything like that. It's just a lady selling off her supplies from, she's obviously having a bit of a clear out and didn't want these anymore. And I got 3 sets of these. Now, to give some idea of the pricing, the sewing machine was 50p. So I'm pretty sure that the currency exchange rate is almost £1 to $1. It's a little bit different, but it's not a huge amount, is it? So 50p is not that much more than 50 cents. The wheelbarrow was £1, so again, that's a little bit more than $1, $1 this is. And the spinning jenny was a little bit more expensive. She was £2. So again, what's that? Probably about, I don't know, $2.30, something like that. And I also picked up this diamond art kit, and it was a couple of pounds. So again, some, I don't know, $2.20, something like that. Now, I've never done a diamond art kit before, but my mum does them and she quite enjoys them. She's done me this beautiful book that's got an owl on the front. And I thought for a couple of quid, I'd give it a go. And for anyone who's not familiar with diamond art, it's obviously, most people probably are because it's taken the world by storm, hasn't it? You have this little tool that pick up the little diamonds, or these are more pearls than actually little diamonds. And then you stick it on the canvas, and the canvas already has glue on it. Now, I've actually got a kit, another kit that does diamond sort of gemstones. And that's actually quite different because that's actually got the glue on the gemstones. So then you use a heated tool to stick it on, basically whatever you want to stick it on. So like a general crafts thing. And I always thought diamond art was similar, but no, diamond art, you've actually got the glue on the canvas and then you stick the gems on the canvas. It's actually quite enjoyable to do. I quite enjoyed it. It was quite addictive. But one thing I did find quite stressful is you can only peel back the glue so far without it drying out. So basically it comes with a big piece of plastic over all the gluey bits, and then you just want to peel back a little section to do the diamond art on that section. But trouble is, I would find that I'd have some colour left over. So I think, oh, I'll just put a few more pinks over here. And then, of course, I peeled it back further than I was intending. And then I think, oh, I'm going to have to fill that all in before the glue dries out. So I then had to do all the blues and all the yellows. So, yeah, I ended up doing it in like a day because I was so paranoid about it drying out. But it was quite good fun. But I have no idea what I'm going to do with it now because we've got way too many pictures in the house. And I'm not sure it's robust enough. Someone said to make it into a cushion, but I'm not sure it'd be robust enough to make into a cushion or a bag or anything. So I'm not sure. My mum suggested sort of doing watered down PVA glue and painting that over the top. That's what she does with hers, and it keeps it a bit more sort of stuck on. So I did give that a go, but even then I'm still not too sure how robust it's going to be. But it was a bit of fun anyhow. So Yorke House has now had all the electrics installed, so you can see that everything is lit up lovely in the house. So my next job is to work out how to connect up the lantern on the conservatory unit. So what I've done is I've drilled a little hole through the floor here and run a wire down here, and then I'm going to put a plug socket on the base of Yorke House. And it's going to be a plug socket that just will put a little hole into the wall here so it fits quite neatly. It actually sits against Yorke House like this. So I needed the plug socket on this side at the back. So what I did is I cut the wires off so it would go there. So basically it needs to be there. And I cut it so it's there. So what I'm now going to have to do is I'm going to have to desolder what I've done here and then just wire in some more wire and run it across so the socket comes out here. The logic being with that is that we're going to put some wire down the back of the house. It goes down the back of the house and it will go into a socket on the base of the house here. Then I'm just going to use an external wire that goes between the two sockets, or certainly between the house and the conservatory. So I want that socket to be as close as possible to the house. But also what I've done is I've done it so that you can actually plug this light in on its own, separate to this house. So it's going to have its own plug socket and it's going to have its own resistor. Initially I was going to do it so it's going to be dependent on the resistors on this house. But if you plug a normal mains lead into an LED light, it would just take unlimited power and it would blow the LED light without a resistor. So I decided to put a resistor on this house. So if I accidentally plug the mains lead into this part of the house rather than the main bit up there, it won't do it any harm. And this one will just come on like so. part of the logic on that as well is I'm going to be moving around with these houses. I'm doing an audition soon for the Women's Institute, and with that, I'm going to audition so I can go around all the Women's Institute in Cambridgeshire and bring my dolls' houses and do talks on the dolls' houses. Now, I must admit, I don't really like public speaking, so it was all a bit scary for me. But one of the things I've been moved about in my journey into the dolls' house world is how much people love dolls' houses. And I think it's fair to say that most ladies, and I'm going to generalise here because it is primarily ladies, have either had a doll's house when they were a child and they loved it, or somebody they knew had a doll's house, perhaps a friend, a cousin, a granny, a mum. And I think doll's houses hold a special place in people's hearts. And I thought it'd be really nice if I could share my doll's houses with the people of Cambridgeshire and the people in the Women's Institute. And as you know, some of them go in my windows anyhow, and this one will go in my window. And Lilac Lodge has been in my window that's behind me at the moment, but it was in my window running up to Christmas. And at the moment, I've got Littlesea Villa in my window. So I share the joy of my doll's housing with the people in the village, but I think it'd be really nice to share that joy outside of that. So I thought I'd go, be brave, go and audition to become a speaker for the WI, and then I can take my doll's housing to Women's Institute places in Cambridgeshire, in the UK this is, and do talks on them, and then other people can see how I've enjoyed my journey into the doll's house world and what I've done in my houses. So that's where I am so far with my project. So I say Yorke House, silly little mistake with the wiring, but I can easily correct that. It's just a shame because it means I'm basically doing the same job twice. Furniture handles, yeah, don't guess, get up and actually measure. Oh yeah, lanterns. Don't guess, actually get up and measure. So yes, it's a little bit on the small side, isn't it? So yes, that wasn't quite what I had in mind. I had in mind something much larger. So a couple of lessons there to myself is, don't guess, get a tape measure and measure what size lantern you want and what size door handles you want. Thankfully, they weren't very much money. I think the lanterns were £1 each, so £4 for the 4, and the door handles were about £4 as well. So I hope you've enjoyed that little update, seeing how I'm getting on my project, seeing all the things that I've been buying as well, and also the mistakes that I've made this week. 2 tiny lanterns, 2 tiny furniture door handles, and wiring in the patio light wrong. So there you go, that's been one of those weeks. Hopefully next week it will be a bit more productive. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.